Okay,
Roy House.
both, just a second. Go ahead.
Roy House, Royhouse. I go by Clint, Clint.
Oh, both sides, a rule of procedure has been invoked. Both sides will be responsible for advising their witnesses as to the rule. And the rule is expanded to include being able to look at electronic devices and listen to folks' testimony. So make sure you incorporate those things too.
Yes, sir.
Mr. George, you may continue.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You are Clint House.
Yes, sir.
Mr. House, how old are you?
25.
Do you currently live in Florida?
Yes, I do.
Where do you live in Florida?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Say Jacksonville?
Jacksonville, yes, sir.
Was there a time that you lived in Orlando?
Yes, sir.
When did you live in Orlando?
From 2007 to 2009.
Why were you in Orlando?
Just going to school at Full Sail.
We've heard a little bit about Full Sail already, but can you tell the jury what you were studying there?
I was there for recording arts, learning how to engineer and produce music.
How long, all in all, how long were you at Full Sail?
About 10 months.
Did you achieve a degree?
No, I did not.
Are you employed now, sir?
Yes, I am.
What do you do?
Work for my parents' company, First Coast Chem Dry in Jacksonville.
What kind of company is that?
It's a carpet cleaning company.
When you were attending Full Sail, where did you live?
I lived with Tony and Cam
Is that at the Sutton Place
at
apartment?
the Sutton Place apartment, yes, sir.
From what time periods did you live there in 2008?
I was only there for a few months. I moved in at the end of April and was out at the beginning or at the end of June
Of 2008.
of 2008, yes, sir.
During that time period, where did you sleep?
Sometimes on the couch, sometimes on the floor. We were all in a transition period waiting for Tony's lease to run out because me, Nate, and Tony were going to get a place together.
During May, June, and July of 2008, you were attending Full Sail, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall during that time period what hours that you were in school?
It ranged. There were some times that I'd be in school at 1 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the morning. There was times that I'd get there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and be there at 5 until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The hours range just based on different classes.
During the time period of May, June of 2008, did you meet a woman by the name of Caylee Anthony?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall when you first met her?
Yes, me and Tony met her at a party that one of our friends was throwing.
Do you remember the friend's name?
No, I do not.
All right. Do you know whether or not that was the first time that your roommate Tony actually met Caylee Anthony?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you met her the same day?
The same night, yes, sir.
All right. What do you recall about meeting Ms. Anthony on that date?
She seemed like a fun party girl, somebody that would probably get along well with our group of friends.
Did, at that first meeting, were you aware that she had a child?
Yes, I was.
How did you become aware of that?
From Tony, he had said that he was talking to a girl named Casey, but she had a kid.
Do you have any specific recollection of the defendant speaking about Caylee on that first meeting?
Not on that first meeting, no, sir.
Did you ever meet Caylee Anthony?
Yes, I did.
Where did you first meet Caylee Anthony?
At the Sutton Place Apartments.
How many times in all do you think that you've seen Caylee Anthony?
4 or 5 times.
Did Caylee Anthony ever spend the night over at your apartment with Tony and your other roommates?
No, she never actually stayed over.
Did there come a time when Caylee Anthony started staying at your apartment more or less full time?
Yes, there was.
And do you recall generally when that was?
Right around the beginning of June into the middle of June is when she started being over there every single day and spending most of her nights over there.
Did you mind that she did that?
No, not at all.
Was this a big apartment to your mind?
No, it wasn't a very big apartment at all. We were all kind of crammed in there.
Overall. Previous objection will be noted.
Now, while she was staying with you and your roommates, did Caylee Anthony ever tell you anything about her employment?
Yes, she told us that she worked at Universal Studios.
Did you ever see any ID cards or anything that would reflect that she actually did work there?
Never saw any credentials.
Did she ever tell you about her work?
No.
Did you ever complain about work?
No.
Did you ever see her getting ready to go to work?
I would see her appear like she was getting ready to leave the apartment, and she would say that she was going to work. So, yes.
Then would you subsequently see her later on that evening?
She'd come back.
Okay. But when she came back, did she tell you about her day at work?
She was pretty silent about it. She didn't really, like I said, she didn't really talk about her work all that much.
Now, you had testified that when you first met Caylee Anthony, you had seen Caylee 2, 3, or 4 times, somewhere around there, correct?
Yes.
When she started staying with you full time, did you ever see Caylee Anthony?
No, that was when she started staying over at the apartment on a regular basis was when we stopped seeing Caylee.
Did you ever ask her where Caylee was?
Yes, we did.
Not we, you. Did you ever ask her?
Yes, I did.
All right. What did she tell you?
She said that she was with the nanny.
Okay. Did the nanny have a name?
She never really said the name. She never said the name to us. She just referred to her as the nanny.
Did she indicate that the nanny was local?
Yes.
Did she ever indicate to you that Caylee was anywhere other than Orlando?
No.
Did it ever seem odd to you that the child was always with the nanny?
Mr. Ball.
I'm not asking him to speculate. I'm asking him.
Overall.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Did you ever find it odd that Caylee was never over at the apartment?
Same objection, Judge. He's asking for his opinion.
Sustain this to that question.
Did you ever question the defendant about where Caylee was?
We asked her, or I asked her, where, I haven't seen Caylee in a while, where is she? And like I said, she said she was with the nanny.
When she told you that, was there ever any concern
No.
in her voice when she told you that?
No.
Did she ever appear worried about where Caylee was?
No.
Did she ever seem sad that she did not see her?
Her demeanor never changed. She was the same person.
When you say that, was her demeanor any different during this time period when Caylee was not around than when you first met the defendant with Caylee?
No.
Did you also have a laptop?
Yes, I did.
And that was part of the full sale enrollment, I guess?
Yeah, when we enrolled, it was wrapped up into our tuition, so we basically did pay for it, but yes, I did have a laptop.
Did you ever see the defendant with a laptop?
Yes, I did.
What type of laptop did she have?
I believe it was an HP, regular base model Windows computer.
Did you ever use her computer?
No, sir.
Did she, to your knowledge, ever use yours?
No, not to my knowledge.
Did you ever see her, the defendant, use any computer other than her own?
No.
While she was staying with you, were you ever present while she spoke on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. When she spoke on the phone, do you know to whom she was speaking?
She would leave the apartment to take phone calls. She would walk outside, she would walk out onto the porch or walk out to the front door. And every time it was either she was on the phone with the nanny or she was on the phone with her mom.
Is that what she told you when she came back?
Yes.
When she came back after these phone calls, did you ever notice any change in demeanor on the part of Caylee Anthony?
No, sir.
Did she ever appear worried
No, sir.
or nervous
No, sir.
or scared?
No, sir.
Would it be fair to say that you saw Caylee Anthony on a regular basis during this time?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say you saw her on a daily basis during this time?
Yes.
Other than hanging out within the apartment, did you ever hang out outside of the apartment?
Yes.
Where do you recall going with her and other people?
Overruled at this point.
Every Friday night, we had our own promotional night at Club Fusion. Me, Tony, we're business partners. We were the DJs, and she would come every Friday night, and she was trying to help us bring people out. And so yes, every Friday night we were at Fusion, and then there was a few times that we went out to regular or random bars in Orlando, around the UCF area or the downtown area.
When you say that the defendant helped bring people out, what do you mean?
She was a promoter. She would, because she was Tony's girlfriend, she would help talk to her friends, tell her friends to come to the club, because the more people that came out, obviously, the more money we were going to make. And so that's what she would do for us.
How did she do that?
Just by telling her friends, text messaging, Facebook, MySpace, telling them to come out and come to Fusion.
Did you ever see her actually do that? Sending out text messages or emails?
I never saw it saw the text messages or emails, but I did see her post stuff on her MySpace page and her Facebook page, but none of her friends ever came.
While at Fusion, you said you and Tony were business partners. This was your event, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did the defendant participate in those events?
Yes, she did.
What role did she play?
The promo girl. She was in a couple of our contests that I hosted. She was in a hot body contest. She would mingle with the crowd, with the people who were there, and pretty much.
Overruled.
Did she do this these events were on Friday?
Yes, sir.
Was this every Friday in the month of June of 2008?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what a shot girl is?
Yes.
What's a shot girl?
Shot girl is a girl who walks around with a tray of pre-mixed shots and sells them to patrons inside of the club.
Now, is this something that you as a business with Tony would coordinate?
We would coordinate the girls, but we didn't pay the girls. That was based from the club.
All right. Did the defendant have anything to do with selecting shot girls?
No.
Did she ever have anything, to your knowledge, to do with how the shot girls dressed?
She would give her little tidbits of I guess, information for the girls, but most of the time I was the one who was telling the girls what they needed to wear.
When you say that the defendant would give tidbits, what are you talking about?
She would say, maybe the girls should wear these shorts or this skirt with this top. That was the extent of it.
While you were at home with the defendant, did you ever witness her looking for outfits for the girls to wear?
No.
Did she make suggestions to the girls in your presence while at Fusion
Yes.
about what to wear?
Yes, sir.
Do you know a woman by the name of Maria Kissh?
Yes, I do.
Who is she?
Maria was my girlfriend at the time.
I take it she's not now.
No, she's not now.
Okay. Did she attend any of the nights at Fusion with you?
Yes, she did.
The nights that you were at Fusion with the defendant, what can you tell the jury about her overall demeanor?
She was partying and having a good time.
I don't believe it was.
Overall,
She was partying and having a good time.
When you say partying, are you talking about drinking?
Drinking, yes, sir.
She dancing?
Yes, sir.
Did she ever display any emotion to you that would indicate that she was upset about anything?
No.
Did she appear happy?
Yes.
The times that you saw, or how would you characterize based upon what you saw, the relationship between the defendant and Tony Lazzaro? I'm asking for observations, Judge.
overall at this point.
They both seemed happy with each other. She would, come over, cook dinner for everybody, clean up the apartment, do laundry. Tony was happy, and so was she.
Did you, in that brief period of time, ever see the defendant and Tony fight?
No.
During this time period that she was basically living with you, did you ever notice the defendant be sad,
No.
angry,
No.
depressed,
No.
withdrawn?
No. She was still the same.
Did she appear exactly the same during this time period when she was living with you than when you first met her with Caylee?
Yes.
No difference.
No different.
Were you at home on July 15th when the defendant's mother came over?
No, I was not. I had moved out by then.
All right, you were out.
Mm-hmm.
After you had moved out, when did you move out?
About 2 weeks before that.
All right. After you moved out, did you ever have any other contact with Casey Anthony?
No.
Did you ever speak with her again?
Me and Tony had a falling out with each other over the Club Fusion, and she was trying to rekindle our friendship, trying to be the good girlfriend, trying to get her boyfriend's best friend back. And that was all the contact that we had.
How did she attempt to do that?
She would just text and say, hey, you should come and hang out with me and Tony. We're going, such and such. We're going out tonight. You guys should come out, squash this beef, and become friends again. And we eventually did.
Was that because of her efforts?
No.
This was subsequent.
Yes.
All right. So again, after you had moved out, and other than the text messages or emails that you've described for us, did you have any other contact with Casey Anthony?
No, there's no other contact.
While she was living with you, did she ever tell you that her daughter had been kidnapped?
No.
That she was missing?
No.
That while you were at school, she was actively looking for her?
No.
That she was worried about her?
No.
She needed help?
No.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions of this witness.
Cross-examination.
Morning, Mr. House.
Good morning.
You met Casey the end of May, early June?
Into May.
Okay. What date exactly?
May 21st, 22nd.
How do you know that was the date?
It was one of our friends' birthdays, and it was that time that we met.
That week, so the end of May.
Into May, yes, sir.
And you moved out July 1st?
July 1st, 2nd, one of those days.
So the complete extent that you know Casey Anthony is a month and a half?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in that month and a half, you saw Caylee how many times?
4 or 5 times.
Okay. And where did you see her?
At the apartment.
Did she have a backpack with her or food or anything like
Yeah,
that?
she would come over with a backpack that had toys in it, flashcards.
Let me stop you there. Flashcards, what kind of flashcards?
Flashcards that had shapes and colors on them that Casey would flash to show Caylee, and she would say what it was.
And you would hear Caylee
Yes.
describe what kind of colors they were? Is that a yes?
Yes.
You have to say yes for her.
Okay.
All right. Okay. And what other learning tools did you see Casey teach Caylee?
Never saw any other learning tools, but she would grab Cam's drum set little thing, and she would always play on the drums. But other than that, no other learning tools. DVDs, she did have some DVDs that she always brought over.
So in this bag, obviously you would see diapers, things like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And other snacks in case Caylee got hungry?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever see Caylee malnourished?
No, sir.
Did you ever see Caylee neglected in any way?
No, sir.
Did you ever see Casey strike Caylee at any time?
No.
Did you ever see Caylee treat Caylee as if she were a burden or negative?
No, not at all.
Okay. Would you say she was a good mother?
Yes, I would.
Sustain.
Sir. Now,
We'd ask that question and response be stricken.
Request granted. Please read 4.04.5, folks.
now,
Thank
sir.
you. You may proceed.
Thank you, sir. I apologize, Your Honor. Now those times were times you had seen her. Did you ever see them go out to the pool?
No.
Okay, so you weren't there on June 2nd when Caylee and,
Assuming facts not in evidence, the witness has answered he did not. Now counsel's testifying.
I'll rephrase it.
Sustain, rephrase the question.
Were you aware that Tony Lazaro and Casey and Caylee went to the pool on June 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. And who else was present?
Nobody. It was just them.
Okay. Now, you mentioned some things about the computer, that you had a computer.
Yes.
Okay. Casey had a computer.
Yes.
Everybody had a computer.
Yes.
Nobody designated you to monitor everybody's computer, did they?
No, sir.
So you weren't keeping any close eye on Casey's computer at any time?
No, sir.
Okay. And now you met at the end of May and you moved out in July. And you described that you worked at Fusions.
Yes.
And Tony was, I guess the two of you were promoters?
Yes.
And part of a promoter's job is to get people to come into the club.
Yes. That is the definition of a promoter.
Okay. For those of us that don't know the promoting world, do you get a percentage of the door?
Depends on what deal you have worked out with the club. It can range from anywhere from 100% of the door to half of the door to $2 a head for everybody that walks through.
What about drinks? Do you get any money off the alcohol?
No.
Okay. So it's just the door.
It's just the door. It's illegal to give money to a promoter off of the bar sales because it's their liquor license, not yours.
And when we say the door, we're talking about what they charge you to get in.
Door entrance, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you, as a promoter, contact every single person you know to let them know that on Friday night or Saturday night or whatever night that you're promoting, your company is going to be promoting that club.
Yes.
And what you're selling is the atmosphere, right?
Yes.
And the atmosphere in this specific place, Fusion is a sushi bar.
Yes.
Okay, so after the sushi bar closes, it kind of turns into like a martini bar, so to speak.
Yes.
Now, you were at this time calling everyone you know, texting everyone you know, and posting on Facebook and MySpace to come to Fusions.
Yes, sir.
And so was Tony.
Yes, sir.
And because Tony was dating Casey, Casey did that too.
Yes, sir.
Is that? And everyone was encouraging, you would encourage all your friends to tell your friends and tell their friends, right?
That's the idea. Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you're a popular guy and you know a lot of people, you can do fairly well in this business.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And especially you guys being college students.
Yes.
Now, this business with the shot girls, that is a portion of your theme or ambiance, right?
Yes.
And Casey wasn't a shot girl, was she?
No, she wasn't.
In fact, what Casey volunteered to do was to help her boyfriend, I guess, coordinate or manage these shot girls. Is that a fair assessment? Or
It's a fair assessment, but it wasn't really what she was doing. She wasn't managing anybody. That was down to me and Tony.
she took an interest in it.
She took an interest in it, but when it comes down to it, it was us.
And it was to help you in any way you can so you could be more successful.
Yes.
And this is while she was also staying with you, living rent-free.
Yes.
And she was pulling her weight by doing this. Part of pulling her weight was doing this, helping you financially.
Yes.
Also cooking,
Yes, she would cook.
cleaning the house,
Yes.
throwing out the trash.
No, that was us.
Okay.
That was the guys.
So you never threw, do you know if Casey ever threw out the trash or you just don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. And you mentioned even after you and Tony had a falling out, she wanted to put you two back together.
Yes.
And you mentioned that Casey was a friendly girl.
Yes, she was.
She was nice.
Yes, she was.
She cared about people.
Yes, she did.
She cared about you. Is that a yes?
Yes.
And even though she barely knew you.
Yes.
And you saw her caring for her child.
Yes, I did.
And you have now found out that Caylee was dead during that time period. Have you since found out, sir?
Sustained.
Have you since found out that Caylee was dead during this time?
Yes, I have.
And you absolutely noticed no change in her behavior?
Not one change.
Let me
in her
finish the
behavior.
question. You saw absolutely no change in her behavior from the moment, from the time period where she was a loving and caring mother up until the time that Caylee was deceased and living with you.
Never saw one change in her.
I have no further questions.
Redirect, Mr. George.
No, sir. Thank you.
May the witness be excused. Subject to recall, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Maria Kissh, Kissh.
May I inquire, sir?
May proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ms. Kish, correct?
Yes,
All right. Ms. Kish, how old are you?
I'm 26.
Are you still, or do you currently live in Central Florida?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell the jury what it is you do for a living?
I'm a sales manager
For a department store or a
for a retail
chain?
company. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
A retail company. Yes, sir.
How long have you been doing that?
A little more than a year.
Can you tell the jury anything about your educational background?
Yes, I went to the University of Florida and majored in political science.
You graduated?
Yes, sir.
What year?
2007.
Back in, I want to draw your attention back to 2008. In 2008, were you employed?
Yes, I was.
What were you doing in 2008?
I was helping on a county campaign.
You were helping out on a campaign?
I was working for a man who was running for a county office.
Was that a paying job or a volunteer job?
It was a paying job.
Did you hold that position in May and June of 2008?
Yes, sir.
Back then, what were your work hours, if you recall?
They were pretty much traditional work hours, 9 to 5, sometimes a little bit later.
During this time period, do you recall where you lived in Orlando?
Yes.
What side of town?
I was living in Kissimmee at the time,
Kissimmee. In Osceola County or Orange County?
Osceola County.
During this time period of May and June of 2008, did you know a person by the name of Clint House?
Yes.
Who was he at the time?
We were dating at the time.
When did you first start dating Mr. House?
Back in May.
And were you dating him throughout May and June of 2008?
Yes, sir.
What about July?
Yes, sir.
At any time, did the two of you live together?
No, we did not live together.
Directing your attention to June of 2008, did you meet Caylee Anthony?
Yes, I did.
Where did you first meet Caylee Anthony?
I don't recall exactly. I believe it was out somewhere. Like at a.
Wasn't at somebody's apartment?
I believe it was like a party atmosphere. I can't recall whose house or anything, but.
Okay. How were you introduced to her?
I was introduced through Clint. It was just the girl he was seeing at the time. That's how she was introduced.
That who was seeing at the time?
That Tony Lazaro was seeing at the time.
Had you already known Tony
Yes.
Lazaro?
I'd met him several times, yes.
Did you know Nathan Lesnovich?
Yes.
So you had known all these people, but Caylee Anthony was a new person that you had met.
Right.
All right. When you met the defendant, did you also meet her daughter on that first time?
No, I did not.
At some point, did you meet her daughter?
Yes, I did.
Where do you recall meeting her daughter?
It was at Tony's apartment.
What do you recall about meeting her when you first arrived?
I had just gone over there to meet up with Clint and knocked on the door, and she answered the door.
Who answered the door?
Caylee answered the door by herself.
Had you ever seen her before that time?
No, sir.
And did you ask her who she was, or what was your reaction upon this little child answering the door?
I knew who she was, and I just said, "Hi, how are you?"
And did you enter the apartment?
Yes, I did.
When you first walked into the apartment, did you see the defendant?
No, I didn't.
Did you have any idea where she was?
I assumed she was there, and later I saw she was just back in one of the rooms.
At some point, did you see Caylee?
I did.
Where did you see her coming from?
From Tony's room.
How much time did you spend with Caylee on that day?
Not very long. Maybe it was less than half an hour.
Did you spend any time with Caylee during this time period?
I did.
How long?
Probably 15, 20 minutes.
During the time frame that you spent with her, was her mother, Casey, anywhere around?
She had, like I said, I'd seen her come out of the room.
Overall,
I'd seen her come out of the room for a minute. I can't remember for what. And then she went back.
Back where?
Back into Tony's room.
Into Tony's room?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Sorry. Yes, back into Tony's room.
Thank you. Now, you obviously saw your boyfriend.
Yes,
Did you at some point leave?
we did.
What do you recall about getting ready to leave?
Clint was doing something else, and I ended up sitting out on the balcony of the apartment, and Caylee was out there as well. And Clint came and got me and said that he was ready to go, and I felt uncomfortable
Why?
because I was on the balcony with her alone, and I didn't want to leave her out there alone.
Now, was this balcony screened?
Yes, it was.
All right. But did you still feel it was safe to be out there?
Object 4-3 won't distract the entire line.
No, it's relevant.
Approach.
Ms. Kissh, we left off with you and Caylee on the balcony. And it was time for you to go.
Yes.
What happened after that?
Right around that time, everyone was getting ready to leave the apartment. Clint and I were going to go get dinner, and Tony, Caylee, and Casey were going to leave as well. So Casey and Tony came.
Overrule at this point.
Casey and Tony came out, and Casey told Caylee to get her shoes on because it was time for them to leave, and kind of that was about it. And I saw Caylee struggling to put on her shoes and socks, so I helped her put on her shoes and tie her shoelaces for her and get her ready to leave the apartment.
Was Caylee verbal with you? Was she speaking with you?
Yes, she was.
You said that you were all getting ready to leave the apartment. Did you all have plans to go out to get?
Sustain, rephrase the question.
Was the plan for all of you to go out together?
No.
So you and your boyfriend were going out?
Yes, yes, sir.
Sorry, sir. Thank you. After that visit, when you saw Caylee, did you ever see her again?
No, sir.
During this time period, in June of 2008, how often were you over at your boyfriend's apartment?
2 to 3 times a week.
When you went over there, were those instances in which you stayed the night?
A few times I did.
A couple of times.
Yes.
When you were over there, do you recall a time when Casey Anthony was also over there?
I do.
Do you recall a time when Ms. Anthony was there all of the time?
Yes, I do.
How were you made aware of that? Or how did you become aware of that?
That she was there all the time.
Yes.
I would talk to Clint, and I would just be getting off work, and he would tell me that Casey had been there all day. And
Sustain.
Were there times, you said you worked 9 to 5.
yes, sir.
After work, would you have the occasion to go over your boyfriend's apartment?
Yes.
Was the defendant there?
Yes.
When you stayed for dinner, was the defendant there?
Yes, sir.
How would you describe your relationship with the defendant? Would you consider yourself friends or acquaintances or what?
It was, I guess it was just, we saw each other several times because Tony and Clint were living together, and she was over there, and so I was over there. It wasn't, we didn't have a friendship, but it was just, I guess, a acquaintance. Yeah.
Okay. Were you polite to one another?
Yes, sir.
You weren't you didn't get into arguments with her, did you?
No, never.
Did you ever tell her about your work and what you did?
I can't recall.
Did she
not.
ever tell you about her work?
Yes, she did.
What did she tell you about her work?
She said she worked for Universal as an event planner.
Did she ever give you any other detail other than event planner?
No, sir.
Did she ever tell you what her hours were?
Not that I can remember.
I'm sorry, you need to say yes or no.
Not that I can remember, no.
Did you ever see any type of identification on the defendant from Universal Studios?
No, sir.
Did you ever question that she actually worked at Universal Studios?
No, sir.
Other than the apartment, did you have the occasion to spend time with the defendant outside of the apartment?
Yes.
What kind of things did you do?
Usually just involved going out at night to a bar or club, or just grabbing a bite to eat.
Did you have the opportunity to see the defendant and Tony Lazaro together?
Yes.
As a couple, what were your observations of them as a couple?
Judge, calling for an opinion.
Asking for observations, Your Honor, not an opinion.
Judge, I don't believe she's a therapist of any kind to be giving opinions on.
Based upon that objection, the objection will be overruled.
Thank you. That means you can answer the question. What did you observe about their relationship?
That they got along well, and they were casually dating, and it seemed to be beneficial for Tony.
I'm sorry?
It seemed to be beneficial for Tony.
Did they appear to genuinely like each other?
I believe so.
I'm sorry?
I believe so, yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kissh, I'm having a little hard time hearing you. If I could just ask you to speak up nice and loud into the
Sure.
mic, okay?
I'm sorry, I have allergies and they're acting up.
The time that you spent with the defendant and Mr. Lazaro, did you ever see them argue?
No.
Do you know what fusion is?
Yes, I do.
What is fusion?
It is a restaurant/nightclub.
Have you had the occasion to be at fusion with your boyfriend and the defendant?
Yes, sir.
What type of things happened? How many times have you been at fusion with the defendant?
One time.
Tell the jury what happens at these events. Is there a show? Is there a concert? What is it?
The time I went with the defendant, it was
Sure. Do you recall the date in which you went to fusion with the defendant?
it was June 20th.
How do you know it was June 20th? Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because I remember it was that Friday, and I had met up with everybody that night, and there was a hot body contest that night as well.
And what time, did you go to fusion with your boyfriend, or did you meet everybody there?
I met everybody there.
What do you recall about the hot body contest?
Object to the relevance, Judge.
Sustained as phrased.
Did you witness the hot body contest?
Yes, sir.
Did the defendant participate in the hot body contest?
Yes, sir.
Objection leading.
Do you recall what the defendant was wearing on June 20th of 2008 during the hot body contest?
Yes, she was wearing just a thin knit dress.
Do you recall the color?
It was a bluish color.
This is being published. Too many buttons up here. I'm showing you what's been, I believe, entered into evidence as states number, and I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, is this number 2? Number 3. Do you recognize the people in that photograph?
I do.
Who's in that photograph?
On the left is Caylee Anthony, and on the right is Nathan Lesnovich.
Do you recall Nathan being at Fusion when you were at Fusion on June 20th,
Yes.
2008? Based upon that dress or that outfit that Ms. Anthony appears to be wearing, does that appear to be an accurate representation of what the defendant looked like and what she was wearing on June 20th of 2008?
Yes, sir.
Did you participate in the contest?
No, sir, I did not.
All right. Your Honor, may I republish this to the jury one more time just for a brief period of time?
You may.
Thank you.
States number 3, Madam Clerk. Case publishing states number 3
Thank
in
you, sir.
evidence.
Do you recall the defendant having any role to play at Fusion on this night other than participating in the hot body contest?
Yes, I do.
Overruled.
What did you understand the defendant's role to be on this night?
She was in charge of the shop girls.
Did you see her actually interacting with the shop girls?
I did.
Did you actually hear her talking to them about what they were supposed to do or not supposed to do?
I did.
Did you hear her discussing their attire or what they should wear?
I can't remember. She specifically discussed that.
During this time period, was there anything about the defendant's demeanor that alarmed you?
No.
Did she ever appear angry
No.
or upset?
No, sir.
I'm sorry?
No, sir, she did not.
Did you stay at Fusion on June 20th, 2008 until it closed?
Yes.
Where did you stay that night?
I stayed at their apartment that night.
Okay. Did you see the defendant the next morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where do you recall seeing her?
In the kitchen of the apartment.
Was this in the morning or the afternoon?
It was in the morning.
I don't know if that is relevance.
Overruled at this point, but let's get there, Mr. George.
Yes, sir. Did you have a discussion with her that morning?
I did.
Okay. What did you talk about?
I asked her where Caylee was.
And what did she tell you?
She told me that she was spending the weekend at the beach with the nanny.
When she said the nanny, did she give you a name?
No, sir.
Did she tell you anything about her financial relationship with the nanny?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She told me that she paid the nanny $400 a week.
$400 a week.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Did you inquire, I'm talking English, did you ask the defendant anything about Caylee's dad?
Relevance.
Approach. You may proceed. Objection overruled.
Thank you. Do you remember the question?
I'm sorry, I don't.
That's okay. Did you have any discussions with the defendant about Caylee's dad?
Yes, I did.
What, if anything, did the defendant tell you about Caylee's dad?
She told me that he was deceased.
Now, you were aware that Ms. Anthony was staying at the apartment, correct?
Yes.
Sustain.
Did you have a discussion with the defendant about her living situation?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you what her living situation was?
That she was going to move into her parents' house. They were moving out and giving the house to her.
To her?
To her, yes, and Caylee.
Did she tell you when she was planning on moving into the house that her parents had left?
She didn't give an exact time. It was within the next couple months.
Did Caylee Anthony ever tell you that her daughter was missing?
No, sir.
Did she ever tell you that her daughter was kidnapped?
No, sir.
Did she ever tell you that she was out looking for her?
No, sir.
Did she ever ask you for help?
No.
The times that you knew, for the weeks that you spent acquainted with Ms. Anthony, did you ever have the occasion to ride in her car?
Yes, sir.
When was that?
I can't remember the exact date.
Was it while she was staying with Clint and those guys, or was it before?
It was while she was staying there.
Other than that, did you ever go in the car?
No.
When you were in the car, who were you with?
It was with Casey, obviously, Tony, and Clint.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Cross-examination.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Where did you go when you in the car?
I believe we just went to get something to eat.
And Casey drove?
I can't remember who drove. It was either Casey or Tony.
And you sat in the passenger side or in the back?
I sat in the back seat.
Okay. And when you sat in the back seat, did you smell any foul odor?
No, sir.
And Clint was with you in the back seat?
Yes.
And did Clint say, "Oh, something stinks back here," or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. And what about Tony? Did he say, "Boy, this car stinks"?
No, sir.
Now, you mentioned that you didn't have a friendship with Casey.
Correct.
You weren't friends in any way.
No, we were acquaintances.
Great. And this thin blue dress that she was wearing, well, I'll strike that. Now, you didn't like her being over at the house, did you?
It didn't bother me personally.
Your boyfriend lived at the house,
Correct.
and Casey was living at the same house as your boyfriend.
Correct.
And it struck you odd that she was there all the time.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, you mentioned that you would call your boyfriend and she was there.
Yes.
And that didn't bother you at all.
That she was at the house?
She was spending all this time where your boyfriend was.
No, it didn't bother me at all.
And this is someone, of course, that you had no friendship with, and that didn't bother you in any way, shape, or form.
No, sir.
I'm sorry?
No, sir, it didn't. She was dating
Okay.
Tony.
Further question?
Okay, may the witness be excused? Okay, thank you, ma'am. You may be excused.